4,
69,
3,
420.
1.
go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Louder Than Podcast. Tonight it is May 14th, and we have 3 topics lined up for discussion. Let's introduce the panel first. I'm Farrah, so I'll do the introductions and the redundancies. Next up, we have Chris.
What's up?
Taylor.
Hello.
Eric.
Level, dub. 70 more episodes.
Shut up.
Unexpected return to the formal introductions. I've been reviewing our old shows, and we used to actually put in effort. I don't know when that changed. I don't know, let's start with the first topic so we can distract ourselves from that deterrent.
God damn it,
I
Chris.
introduced this topic to the group earlier on. It is jawbreakers. Now, let's just open the floor for a bit briefly. Does anybody here know anything about diversity in comics, Richard C. Meyer, any of that?
I actually don't.
I do not either.
Nope.
Oh, this is gonna be dumb. Sorry, I took a thing that I probably shouldn't have taken, but for fun. Anyway, go on.
Crap.
I got Brimstone with soy milk and Tiny Planet.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Chris, from what you told me, this is like very interesting news. So go on, introduce it.
Okay, so considering I'm 1 out of 4 people on this show, and I have 5 people's amount of comics knowledge here, I'll try to keep it brief. Long story short, Richard C. Meyer is a guy who runs a channel that is called Diversity in Comics. He's also an author, and he's putting out his first book it's not shipping this month, I don't think, but the campaign ends today. Not today, this month.
Okay.
And it's for a book called Jawbreakers. This graphic novel, which has no backing from any of the big 2, Marvel or DC. It is just a crowdfunded book that was somehow, I don't know how, able to garner the 2nd highest position on graphic novel sales for this month.
Does this guy have any other, like, industry experience that, like, other people would be like, oh yeah, like, I've seen this guy's work, I love him?
He works in IT, and he used to be in the Army. Like,
So that's a no.
Yeah.
Good for him, though.
And he only started his comic coverage about a year ago, if even that.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. Wait,
kind of rocking
what's his
to the
base
top.
story about?
Say again?
What's his debut story about?
His debut story, long story short, it's a very classic, like, 80s, 90s action comic about a band of super soldiers taking down a giant ape.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's like
So
he based the squad off of his old, like, what's the word?
Squadron and battalion, maybe?
He based it off of the other servicemen that he worked alongside when he was overseas.
Okay.
And it's obviously fantastically over the top.
Oh, no, yeah, like, I don't expect this to be like, wow, I know the guy now.
Oh, Jimmy, yeah. It's you.
So this
So,
guy gets
is
his
there-
campaign off the ground with an unprecedented amount of success. I mean, even compared to publishers and authors that are still in the industry that have already had their number 1 to introduce a series. Like, this guy's number 1 is outperforming established franchises like Superman and Batman.
Jesus Christ.
Batman's boring. I mean, sorry, Superman's boring. Batman's boring.
Anyway, he ends up getting a lot of free press because the established comic industry is very upset with him because he does a lot of commentary on the side, and I don't find that entertaining. However, he's clearly well informed on the subject matter, and
Right.
he calls out industry practices that he disagrees with. He is not pulling any punches. So when you have major figures that are tanking the success of their comics, and their franchises are going down toilet while this guy is going right to the top on his first installment.
See, I didn't know that he was a critic on top of that, so it's like, not only is he potentially part of the reason already that these people are not as the readers aren't as impressed with, you know, first party, or not first party, but like AAA publishers, but now he's also outselling them by putting his money where his mouth is, and literally, well, why don't you do it better?
Yeah, that was one of their major rebuttals back when he was just doing the channel. It's like, if you think that you can do this so much better, why don't you? Okay, let me drop it in your lap.
I love this guy, like, a lot.
Is there any bad things about this story, or?
Yes.
Now are the press that was following it up. Like, Mark Waid is the one I'm going to go to, mostly because I hate his Daredevil run, but he was actually able to land himself in such hot water he might be getting fired from Marvel over it.
Beautiful.
He was, even before this campaign got to the front page news, he was trying to spread false information about this guy ducking criminal charges for unpaid child support, that he was a documented harasser, and, you know, just the kind of stuff you would expect in all the false accusations of present-day politics.
See, it's funny because a lot of people like to cry about, like, slander and libel, but, like, this is a good example of what that actually entails.
Yeah, that's slander right there, my dude.
Like, stuff that will get the government to investigate your personal life because, well, wait, he didn't pay his child support? That's illegal. You can get thrown in fucking jail for that and sued and all kinds of other things. Like, people will come after you if they believe that.
Yeah, and the best part was that just off that one accusation, he actually put out some of the paperwork that was not going to dox him or anything, and it's like he's overpaid by $2,000. So it's like, okay, do you have anything else to lie about me for?
So, like, are you saying he's like the Yeezy of comic books? Where
I'll
he's
pretend
brilliant, but people hate him?
I mean, that's kind of a weird example, but I sure. No, but that's hilarious because, like, the more people slander him, the more he gives them a reason to like him.
Yeah, it's the Streisand effect. All this negative press is just helping build him up, and he actually has the ability to roll the punches. I mean, this is one of the guys I was talking about back in Comicsgate who was being threatened with assault at comics conventions.
Comics game?
Yeah, it's like, what was it? Atlanta? Or it was one of the Comic-Cons where people were talking about trying to orchestrate an assault on this guy, and then they were going to reframe things as if they could blame it on his PTSD from when he was in the forces.
Wow, that's actually horrible.
I have a lot of respect for this guy for putting up with that bullshit.
Yep.
Wow,
And,
good. Good.
and here's where we move to some of the negative parts of this, where Mark Waid was actually successfully able to intimidate the publisher, Antarctic, into dropping the book. The crowdfunded copies are still shipping out, of course. However, the ones that were going to be special ordered from the publisher are now going through the Diversity Comics' own publishing company, Splato Comics.
Oh, did they, like, threaten to pull their support with Marvel?
It's like Mark Waid was speaking as if he was speaking on Marvel's behalf.
Right.
Of course, he's a big name there. He's been established for decades, and he's been treated as if he's untouchable for a while now, but I think he's finally played out his last card. So
I really hope this guy gets fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because at this point, you're not just being a dick to people, like, that's bad enough. You're being a dick to people under the guise of Marvel management.
And they will, and that's just like ruining their name.
That's a legal nightmare for their team. Because now you have to say, like, no, don't worry, guys, he doesn't have any say here. And they're going to say, well, does he work for you? Well, yeah, technically. Well, then why the fuck are you letting him get away with this? And they're going to be like, be right back. We have a firing to do.
BRB, we have to talk to our lawyer.
Yeah, like, that's really bad.
yeah, now that Marvel's under Cebulski, we might actually see the end to Mark Waid, and
He says
kind
so
of
childish.
he's kind of been blacklisted from DC. I don't know the exact details on that setup, but he's been steady with Marvel for a bit. Although he's not been steady on a good book, he's just been steadily working with them.
Yeah.
So you're saying he's just a big man child. And he, okay.
You have plenty of reasons to hate him other than his Daredevil stuff.
That is fucking hysterical.
And after he nuked all of his social media because he realized, oh yeah, Disney might fire me and I might end up getting sued because the Splato publishing company is actually filing claims with the FTC and the Better Business Bureau over intimidation on corporate levels.
I love this. Like, this is the kind of shit I love hearing about when big companies are, you know, I'm not necessarily blaming all of Marvel for this, but somebody who has the power of a big company behind them is trying to use it to just be a fucking bully and getting shut down gloriously.
Yep. The trick will set you free, but a glorious smackdown is always fun.
I also give Marvel some credit here, too, for being like, hey, guy, stop. Like, you work for us, but we don't have your back on this. You're being a fucking asshole.
Stop being such a dick, Steve.
Yeah, like, nobody likes you. Not even a good writer. Apparently.
Oh, yeah, and now that all the social media is down and he's facing potential lawsuits while Marvel has him under their thumb, he did an interview with Bleeding Cool.
Who was that?
One of the most atrocious comic rags I can think of. Imagine the National Enquirer, however.
Oh my
trying to dress up
god.
with superheroes, as if spandex is going to solve the problem of tabloid journalism.
Cool.
For
So
fuck's
Marvel is
sake.
presenting this as if he was approached by the publishers rather than he was the one instigating the slanderous campaigns, and that he did not intimidate anyone at all, but he spoke as a friend.
Yeah, okay.
Such a good friend. One of those keep your enemies closer. I mean, close.
Your friends closer, your enemies closer.
Yep. You know, it's saying.
So have they figured out the distribution yet? Like, is Splato doing okay with that?
They definitely have the funding for it. I think they're going to be able to take off with it. I don't know if they're going to be able to do more than just the one book, though. I mean, if he's starting his own publishing deal, then there are going to be people in this industry that are very much interested in going outside the conventional, like, top two.
Oh yeah, well I mean this is kind of the, you know, the time in media to be independent.
Oh, Chris, I forget who they are. You would know. Who are the guys who made Spawn?
Oh, McFarlane?
Yeah,
I mean,
McFarlane.
like his company.
Wasn't it just his name in it, right?
Yeah, I think.
Poster image.
Was it? I know there was. I thought there was a company behind it. It was like a third comic book company, not as big as DC or Marvel.
Image, Dark Horse, I'm not sure.
Dark Horse. It was Dark Horse. Yeah.
Are you sure Spawn was a Dark Horse property? I think it might have
I
been.
think it was Dark Horse, but I'm just naming companies.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Spawn. We know what we're saying, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Was there a point building off of that, or?
No, I was wondering, like, how are those companies like that
Spawn
faring
is
in
Image
now,
Comics.
like this
Image
day and age?
Comics.
Oh, they're doing terribly.
Spawn is
Like IDW, for instance,
Okay.
just lost G.I. Joe because Hasbro was too busy fielding complaints about an anti-American activist leading their most patriotic comic.
By the way, Spawn is Image Comics.
Image Comics. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I should know that I have 4 compendiums of Image sitting behind me.
I think Dark Horse has Hellboy though.
Oh.
I did not. Oh no. Okay. I'm still looking at DC controls.
So yeah, IDW and Image are the ones I think of off the top of my head that are like outside of the main publishing arcs.
Right.
They're doing very poorly right now.
Ooh, they have the license for Star and Hellboy.
For who in Hellboy?
Star Wars.
Oh, jeez. Like any of the new stuff, you mean?
The
Yeah.
only
I
Star
guess
Wars
so.
one I'd recommend if you're looking for it is probably the Darth Vader stuff, honestly, because there's not a lot of good Star Wars comics right now.
Well, because they had to do everything with resetting the canon and figuring out who they're gonna let do things.
Yeah, and the same publisher actually did stuff in the old expanded universe, so they're trying not to retread ground, so they also have to work within the new universe.
Yeah.
Still, though, their Darth Vader stuff is not terrible.
Okay.
The expanded expanded universe.
What's it called? The one that's teamed up with Han Solo right now. I can't remember. They introduced 2 new characters. One is teamed up with Luke. The other's teamed up with Han and Leia. Those stories are not great right now.
Are you guys ready for Solo?
I haven't followed Star Wars since Episode 7.
Oh.
I'm
I
very
want to see
excited.
8 though.
You're behind 2 movies. That's not bad.
No. I don't really care too much about the side stories, to be honest with you.
I'm not
No,
more.
it's bad.
I'm more interested in it not as like a side story, more as to get backstory. Like that's more what I'm
Yeah.
interested for it. By the way, I'm not sure if you guys heard yet, but Harvey Birdman is coming back. It was announced
What?
today.
Yes.
Oh,
Except
I'm so fucking excited.
He's not attorney at law anymore. He's attorney general.
That's
Yes.
totally fine.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is totally fucking okay. Oh god, I
It should be
missed that.
this fall. It's coming out.
Hell yeah.
Still on Adult Swim.
Right. Yeah, I haven't actually turned on Adult Swim in such a long time.
Yeah.
Not the channel, but just because like I haven't used TV.
No, I don't watch
I
cable.
watched it was probably Samurai Jack, and that was when they had the Rick and Morty April Fool's thing.
Well, like with Samurai Jacket, I didn't watch that online. I just like waited for like the leak to come out.
Yeah, that's why I started watching it online instead of on TV, because they had that whole Rick and Morty April Fool's thing. It's like I didn't even start the show at that point. Okay, just to try and reel this back into the topic. So, Jawbreakers is off to a phenomenal success.
Okay.
Publishers are losing a lot of ground right now, especially Marvel with Mark Waid under their wing. And it's looking like this is going to start moving us towards a lot more independent comics.
I'm very okay with that because I feel like... Okay, you know my history with actual release comics is relatively spotty, Chris. But I've always enjoyed independent format stuff, whether it's people who got one-offs published, like just under like a, you know, kind of a no-name company, or, and you know, I just found it in like a local comic shop, or like web comics I was always very, very happy with because it's stuff I could just find and like not worry about, like, do I want to take the chance on purchasing this? You know, I'm more than happy to give the creators money and stuff, and I've bought like web comic stuff, like merchandise and shit like that, but like, when I don't know much about a comic, I'm less likely... It's not enough, like, you know, something like video games, I'll take a chance on a game. But comics, not so much. I'll try and, like, find out as much as I can. So, I love the idea of, like, people independently doing their own thing and having it more accessible. And, you know, I'm happy to pay the money for it. Just, I feel like a lot of the times, the independent stuff is more interesting to me anyway, and I'd be more likely to take a risk on an issue or two of that. How do you feel about it, though, as somebody who reads a lot of, like, more normal circulated comics?
I'm actually happy for it because we've been getting a lot of repetition in the industry lately. I mean,
I agree.
We're looking at another soft reboot soon, and DC has just gone into Action Comics 1000, and they're still trying to figure out how much of their continuity is actually one continuous fiction. Like, the Doomsday Clock is still coming out, I think. And that's their justification for all the different eras being actually in one single continuous story, which is still needlessly convoluted for my taste, but it means we get more Watchmen.
Right.
Whereas the independent stuff, I mean, the big publishers are willing to put out the money just for the good press right now, rather than actually putting out good stories. I mean, would you ever think you'd be seeing a book called The Pervert, which is basically just furry porn mixed with newspaper comic strips out there? Because that's getting big publishing and big funding right now.
Really?
Yeah, just because they want to try and tick all the boxes in their variety. Versus the independent market, where just having something for novelty's sake is not enough. You need to actually have a good product.
Yeah. And, like, don't get me wrong, novelty is still, like... It could still push, a good comic to be, like, a great comic, but you can't sell something on novelty alone.
Yeah, I mean, I want experimentation as much as the next guy. I mean, I would have never expected Batman White Knight to be an actual good story. The entire premise is, oh yeah, we're going to tell this from the Joker's perspective, he's the protagonist. And I was like, you're going to make 7 issues out of that? That seems like an Elseworld story that doesn't even fill 1 issue.
Yeah.
But they actually put a lot of effort into it. I had to look up the guy's name, Sean Gordon Murphy. He wrote a fantastic story with that.
Yeah, and, like, the novelty of it is something that kind of pushes it even further.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not just the Joker that gets a different interpretation in that one. It's Batman. It's all of Gotham City. You have this entire, like, Bat family lineage going through a parental succession in the story. And
yeah, it's all, like, flipped on its head to some degree.
Yeah. So I'm not saying don't have diversity. I'm not saying don't have experimentation. I'm just saying have good comics so I can support them.
Yeah.
I do love the comic book movies, but I've never been into reading the comics. But I'm also really big into going to Comic-Con, which I'm going to this year. What do you think the odds of them showing up this year are? Or Jawbreaker, that is.
Meyer?
I feel like it can be really good for him to show up at Comic-Con.
He's only ever attended as a guest. I'm not sure he's ever done, like, a panel or a booth or anything.
So, okay, I've never been to Comic-Con. How much do they really, like, support indie stuff there?
I'm not sure. I just know that I haven't been there since, like, 2012.
Right, because I know, like, we go to anime conventions a lot, or video game conventions, and usually there's, either a dealer's room with not too many restrictions, or if there is a dealer's room that's like, you have to have, like, an LLC to sell here, they'll at least have an artist alley where anybody can buy a booth, and people sell like dojins and stuff there all the time, like independent comics.
I think they do have an arts alley in Comic-Con.
Okay, I would imagine it would be swarmed with people trying to sell their own stuff.
Yeah.
I do remember the last time I was there, it was overrun by anime. Like, comics were like pushed to the side corner.
Well, because a lot of the people who are used to doing the convention circuit, think about how many comic conventions there are. Yeah, sure, there's a decent amount. Now think about how many anime conventions there are. People make livings off of, selling at conventions. So if they're not gonna miss Comic Con because it's still technically in the same realm as fucking comic books.
True.
And you really can't beat that much of an audience just going there with money to spend. It's the only kind of vacation where you really, really go primarily to go shopping, or at least partially, like, as a primary goal.
Like, I do remember that when I went there, it was kind of like the comics were pushed into the corner.
Mm.
And, like, the anime did get the center stage. But, like, I don't have a problem with that. I'm a big anime guy, but I do want to get, like, I need to find, like, a good comic to get myself into, like, for, like, a good, like, baby's first anime, comic.
I mean, anything, it's just, like, as an entertainment medium, it's just kind of like whatever you find interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I personally disagree with the idea that there's, like, beginner-friendly anime, there's beginner-friendly manga. The only thing that I think really holds water is, like, visual novels and stuff. Because there's some that literally take, like, 60-plus hours to complete. So, the only thing beginner-friendly about some of the other ones is that they're shorter. But as far as subject matter, I mean, if you like it, read it, or watch it, or whatever. So, like, just start researching, like, comics in a genre you would like, or, with a certain kind of protagonist that you would like. Like, I consider myself a fan of comic books, and yet I probably can't talk to 90% of comic fans out there about whatever they're into, because I don't like a lot of the same stuff they do. But it doesn't mean I'm any less of a comics fan.
Yeah, I know the struggle. After I've been really want to get into, Taskmaster.
Yo, he's one of my favorite heroes who I actually did start to read for a while. Do you know, like, his whole shtick, or are you just kind of mildly familiar?
If I remember correctly, is he the guy who made his own, like, villain school?
I don't know about that far in. Yeah, basically his entire, like, power is that he can watch something and recreate it. So, like, he can watch a kung fu movie and he knows kung fu.
Chris, can you open the window?
So you're telling me he's Sasuke from Naruto?
I mean, if you want to use a bad show to give an example from, I guess.
He's basically a rogue version of the basic. Like, he only needs to see something that you can integrate it into him, and he can automatically see it.
Is he a good guy?
Taskmaster depends on the story.
I think he's kind of touted as an anti-hero.
Okay.
Like, he's not always on the same side as the heroes, but more often than not, I guess it's just
He's an independent contractor.
Whatever brings him
selected
to that.
applications of the meat system.
But yeah, you should start reading Taskmaster. He's very interesting.
I need to find some new stuff too. I mean, I've been going back to a lot of my old books lately,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to get into stuff past Food Take Clock and whatnots. I mean, my personal trinity, I have one hero from each of the major publishers, and two from the major publishers, one from the smaller ones. I have Batman for DC, Daredevil for Marvel, and Jackie Estacado for the Darkness.
Hey guys, quick question. Is 7 o'clock bad?
Oh, hold on.
Sorry, we had to open the window, but there's like some kind of electric thing like right outside of the fucking window.
It's my AC unit.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me turn on the noise gate. Is that better?
Kind of.
What?
Okay. It's good enough.
Okay.
So yeah, with Mark Waid going the way of the donut, I need to get good Daredevils again. He's my favorite, so I want more.
Yeah, I would like to read some of the better Daredevil stories.
I was never a big Daredevil guy. I always thought he was like a knockoff Spider-Man.
get started. Someone's having another topic.
Yeah, I want to hear you yell at him about that later in chat. Anyway, so I heard news that a company is making a game for the Switch that is going to require external pen and paper interaction, and I think that's really cool.
It sounds like D&D.
Yeah, it is. It actually is going to be an RPG. I don't know how much like any other game system it's going to be like, whether it's going to be D&D or something else, but I think it's really fucking cool because it's one of those things where you can take advantage of like the really big conveniences of console, where like if you develop it properly, you only need one Switch for it. I mean, theoretically you would have a game master, right? You know, something like that. So you're taking advantage of the system as a different vehicle instead of it being like, oh look, you can connect a bunch of controllers and play a video game on this. But with other things like with phones and things like that, it can be unreliable, because even though I am an Android user and I enjoy being an Android user, I concede that part of the problem with Android is there's like a million different devices you have to optimize for. So, you know, if they optimize it for the Switch, anybody who owns a Switch can say, oh, hey, I'll buy this and give it a shot. It's guaranteed to work.
So, do we know what price range is? Because I feel like it could be more expensive than your average game.
It probably will be, but also at the same time, no, because they're not the ones providing the pen and paper, I assume.
Yeah, actually, think about it. It's probably going to be cheaper than normal because so many devs, when they make stuff like this, they just charge a fair price for the software, and then they're like, here, you need game sheets, go to our website and print them.
Yeah.
I would actually be more worried that Xbox coming straight from Nintendo because they have a $100 variety pack of hardware for the Labo last year.
Well, it's not a Nintendo-made product.
That's what I'm saying. It's not Nintendo.
Yeah. Although,
It's really nice that they're like opening up to third-party companies now. For a while, they were super against that.
I find that ironic with Nintendo because, like, the SNES is regarded as one of the best systems of all in, you know, gaming history, and half of its great games were made by people who weren't Nintendo. But no, outside of that though, I want to take a second and defend the Labo a little bit, only because I remember growing up and going to like Toys R Us and stuff, and let me tell you, I've now seen the Labo box in person, the one that you pull off the shelf. It's bigger than I thought, and fucking, like, science kits and shit like that for your kids were always expensive. With inflation, I wouldn't be surprised if they were more than $80. So, yeah, it's cardboard, but you're also paying for the fact that, like, yeah, I mean, first of all, the science kits and shit were basically made out of cheap plastic and glycerin if you were using anything with sugar in it. But that's what I mean. So, like,
Yes, I get where you're coming from.
yeah, I think that what you're paying for is more, you know, yes, they're gathering a lot of material for you to use, but you're also paying for the packaging and, like, the design and the attractiveness of the product because, well, yeah, you could have done this yourself, why didn't you? And I fully encourage it, too. Like, if you think, like, well, you know, I have a degree in engineering and, like, I want to share that with my son or my daughter, okay, like, I'll build a kit for them with cardboard. By all means, I am not encouraging you to, like, go spend the $80. But if you're just someone who's like, hey, I want something fun to do with my kid that's interactive, you could spend your money on worse.
That's fair.
But anyway, yeah, I think it's, I think this is a neat extension of that another, and like Eric said, it's cool that, like, you know, Nintendo's receptive to indies and stuff now, where...
They learned their lesson from the Switch, because I know during that era they were very against people learning their motion techniques.
Well, also, like, I think Nintendo's relaxed more now that other companies are making a lot from partnering with indies. So the eShop is really taking off. I mean,
the game you're playing right now was an indie game, and that's, like, one of like the best selling for Switch,
You guys are
isn't
breaking
it?
a lot.
Yeah.
What?
What?
You guys are breaking a lot.
I-
Are you about like half of that?
That's weird. I mean, you were breaking up before too, so maybe that's your connection.
Could be.
Well, in any event, I said that, or Taylor said that, like, Isaac is, like, one of the better selling games on the Switch, and that started out as, like, an indie Flash project. So.
And Cave Story is out,
Hell yeah, it is.
made by
Okay, sorry.
Ooh!
Eric. Disconnect yourself from this Discord server right now.
Alright. My man Pixel, if he's listening, I'm sorry for Eric. An extremely talented man from Japan single-handedly kickstarted the indie revolution by making Cave Story all by himself.
Oh.
Now, granted, people have been making games all by themselves for a long time. I'm not going to act like throwing them under the bus here, but, like, Cave Story became, like, a wild internet hit, and...
It's like one of the biggest indie games ever, and it was made by one guy.
like, he did literally everything. The programming, the art, the music, the design, the dialogue, like... He is Cave Story.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. No, he's absolutely incredible. And, like, I'm not just saying it's... Like, I would admit, like, yeah, no, it's good for a game made by one guy. No, this game is better than a lot of fucking games I've played that were made by multi-billion dollar... multi-million, but still. Multi-million dollar fucking teams.
It got,
Games like that I'm really into. Like, I know the game Dust was a one-man team.
Oh, it was?
Beautiful. Yeah.
I didn't know Dust was one guy. That's awesome.
And then
Yeah.
Halo?
What?
Yes, I believe that's it.
Yeah, it's like, I think he had to get somebody to compose the music, but everything else was him.
I thought it was a couple people. That's awesome.
I could be mistaken on that one.
It's still-
The other one, Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley's one-person team?
I'm way out of the loop on this one. I thought it was, but now they're talking about multiplayer. I think they need more people.
Yeah, they'll say, like, really good for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What were you gonna say, Tay?
oh, I was just gonna say, Cave Story. The guy partnered with Nicalis to get it published on, like, console, but the game started on PC, so...
Yeah.
The PC versions of
Actually, you can still play the free, like, original version.
it. Yeah.
You
But-
still play the original Isaac?
The Flash one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the demo. I think it's still up on Newgrounds. So is Meat Boy.
There's this trend going around with Steam lately, at least in terms of PC stuff, where they're making it harder to find original copies of games that get re-releases. Like Skyrim, you can't really track down the original that easily. People call it Oldrim, and you need to go through a bunch of extra hoops just to find it on the Steam store.
Really?
Wait, really?
Dark Souls Prepared Die Edition has been delisted. So
Really?
you now have to get the remastered edition.
Oh, what the
I do
fuck?
have to prepare to die.
If you have it already, then you're gonna keep it. It's not like they're taking it away retroactively.
Yeah.
I think I think Steam has gone on record saying that, like, you'll always be allowed. I know I mentioned that, like, remember I said if they go under, they've promised that, like, they will make everything DRM free. But other than that, I think it's like other consoles where, like I own Outrun on Xbox 360, but they lost the Ferrari sponsorship, or not sponsorship, the licensing. So you can't buy Outrun on the Xbox Live Arcade anymore, but I still downloaded it a bunch of times since they delisted it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because it's in my download library. So, like, they don't have to take it down for their paying customers because you legally are entitled to re-download it, but you just can't buy it anymore.
Oh, really quick segue. Can we talk about how Nintendo is kind of messing around with refunds? Or-
Yeah, let's move on to that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a good segue from what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
I think. So, if I understand correctly, this is about if you pre-order something, correct?
Yes, if you pre-order a digital game on the Nintendo eShop, they refuse to cancel or refund your pre-order.
This is nice.
The fun parts are when they try to institute their legal defense in a, well, I don't know if it was a public statement, but it was made public, about how they were talking to the different commissions that would regulate the ability to actually authorize or deny refunds. Nintendo said that once you've pre-ordered the game, you're able to do a preload, and that counts as the performance having started. Therefore, you already have access to the product.
I think that's silly, but I'm not necessarily that burnt up about the whole thing, to be brutally honest with you.
It's like, it reminds me of something that Sony was actually doing, like when PS4 was early on, and I think they still do to this day, actually. How they said that a game is playable with partial install, and they were doing this after the PS3 got lambasted for always having a mandatory install compared to the Xbox 360.
Right.
And the PS4 having a playable start before the full install, more often than not, just means you can access the start screen.
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty much complete bullshit.
So yeah, Sony at least lets you, how else to put it, prioritize certain portions of the install. Depending on the game, you could have single player or multiplayer prioritized. That doesn't cover all the different cases where this kind of problem arises.
Mm-hmm.
It's more options than Nintendo does, where once you start taking off that percentage at all, if you get any data on your machine, you're going to count it as a performance star.
Like, that's just not fair to consumer, though.
I'm kind of in the middle, though, because, like, what reason would you have to return a pre-order?
Well,
I'm not saying that, like, real quick, I want to clarify before anybody says anything. I am not steadfast on this. I'm actually just not really sure how to take the outrage, so go on.
That Nintendo does, at least for eShop, it's pay in full for pre-order. It's not like putting $5 down at a Walmart or Target or something.
I guess for me it's not as big of a deal because I personally, when I did pre-order games more, I never really pre-ordered a game I wasn't going to follow through on and buy. Like, when I pre-ordered a game, it was, I am buying this day one, unless, like, for me to cancel a pre-order, I would have to hear, like, yeah, no, they're changing this, like, you know, action-adventure RPG to a fucking football game, and it's just going to be Madden instead. Like, for the most part, I always followed through, and instead of being mad about it, like, now, I just don't pre-order as many games.
Yeah, I think the only things I pre-order anymore are collector's editions, things that have, like, a physical thing to go with the game.
Right.
There's no point on buying... You can still buy day one, but there's no point in putting money down ahead of time.
Well, especially, like, I had to unlearn a habit, basically, because I was used to games literally selling out, but now that really doesn't happen. Even physical copies, like, I've never really had problems now finding, you know, brand new copies of a game.
Yeah, the only games I can think of that, at least in the last couple of years, I had a hard time finding a physical copy of were Wii U games, and it was just because the console was on the way out.
Right.
The only thing I had a problem with recently, I mean, actually, I don't really have problems anymore because I go all PC.
Well, me too, yeah, but...
The only thing I had a problem with was maybe getting the, you know, this new mini SNES.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There is that.
Oh, it's being gutted so Nintendo can justify their subscription model by reselling you the games that were on it.
But yeah, like, I actually... I was, like, so touched, like, even as, like, what, like a 7-year-old... My parents came home one day because they were like, oh, you know, Chris, are there any games that, like, you're going to want coming out? Because we all played games, so it wasn't like my parents being like, oh, this is a waste of time. It was like, no, this is what our son is into, so, like, they would often be totally cool with me getting, you know, newer games. So I told them, like, oh, this game is coming out, it's called Mario Tennis, and it's going to be great. And they were like, yeah, sure, like, next time we're out, we'll run by and see if we can, you know, find a copy. And my parents took a little while getting home. I was with, like, another family member, and they came back and they're like, sorry we took so long. You should have seen the line for Mario Tennis. We got one of the last copies. And I was like, wow, you guys waited all that time for me. Like, thank you so much. And that was a problem. So, like... No, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think what Nintendo's doing right now is very similar to what Steam was doing with Australia with their refunds? Or do you think it's a different story?
You know, I don't know, but my phone just went from 4% battery to 10% battery. So...
Yeah, I get a refund on that one.
Refresh me. What was Australia pulling again?
Plus, I believe that Steam did want to do refunds for games.
It was EU regulation from the forefront, and the Australians were actually the ones able to press the charges.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, we did talk about that like last week.
It was not just Steam. They were talking with a bunch of different digital service providers like iTunes and all that, where they had to offer some sort of return option for defective products or customers not having their expectations met by it.
Right.
So the EU started it, Australia finished it, and they've just been denied their last appeals this past couple months. So
Cool.
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't think we'll end up having to fight anything like that. I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, I don't see how it's going to go in the States, but I guess comparing Steam with Nintendo, I don't know that Steam would disallow you from canceling pre-orders. It was just once the transaction is finalized.
Okay.
Nintendo finalizes the transaction upon pre-order, whereas Steam, unless I'm mistaken, finalizes upon having a downloadable preload.
Yeah, I don't know, like,
on Steam, I'm not sure.
I guess I'm just, it's more that I'm not mad at Nintendo, it's just, this is another funny reason that, like, pre-ordering things is kind of pointless now.
Yeah. This makes your life harder.
But you're gonna have to miss out on that eventually downloadable $3 skin that's exclusive to one of 4 retailers, and you can't get all of them anyway because they're all retailer exclusive pre-orders.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the lowest practices in the industry, and we've done some fucked up stuff.
Yeah, I'm still pissed off about Lollipop Chainsaw never re-releasing the pre-order DLCs, by the way.
They
I agree
didn't?
with Chris about pre-ordering a game for like nowadays. If I pre-order, I think I want like a statue with there, or like a little collectible. Isn't that what you're saying before, Chris?
Yeah, it's like the 2 games I've gotten this year so far are Monster Hunter World and God of War, and both of them were the collector's editions with statues and art books.
I think that's the only thing you can really sell me on nowadays.
It's
Like,
like,
yeah,
if I'm
it's more expensive, but like it's cool.
Trying to see if it'll register.
Yeah, like, that's really the only thing I pre-order for. I mean, I was interested, because I was never a huge Marvel vs. Capcom guy outside of playing 2 a lot when I was younger, but I was actually, they didn't end up sending it. GameStop fucked up somehow, but I didn't pursue it because I didn't care anymore. But the only reason I pre-ordered Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was because I wanted, like, the Chun-Li statue.
And you got the Easter egg Infinity Stones?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't end up actually getting them. But yes.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I'm glad I didn't spend money on that.
That was
I actually had a similar problem with the collector's edition for Lords of Shadow, Castlevania.
Yeah.
I ordered it, and some stuff they promised didn't come in. I was like, great. I emailed them, never came in, so whatever.
But, like, exactly. There's, like, no good reason to fucking pre-order things anymore. Also, while I still do want some of the stuff here and there that they, like, advertise with the collector's editions, found that even sponsored stuff, like, I'm not even saying, like, oh, people make cooler stuff, the companies usually end up releasing cooler figures and shit down the line outside of their collector's editions anyway.
Yeah, it's like, I would not have gotten the God of War Collector's Edition if it wasn't for Gentle Giants making the figure on it, because I know their craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the other Collector's Editions, like, you can just look at the last God of War game that had a statue, Ascension. I feel like I could get a better quality paperweight for $10.
Yeah.
It's light, it's not that detailed, and it's a better Kratos design for my taste than the Nordic Dad of War, but it's not a good statue.
Dad of War.
The Paw of War. Oh god, what?
Oh, did you hear about the voice actor actually recording some of the dad jokes in his Kratos voice?
Oh my fucking god.
I'll just look it up after the fact, because once the cast is over, you're gonna need a bit of a laugh.
Yeah. That sounds pretty awesome. I want to hear that.
Next
So, anyway,
subject?
yeah, I was gonna say, what's the next subject?
Our last one, unless we have anything else, would be the E3 rumors and leaks. And
Yeah, what have you guys heard? I'm actually kind of excited now that there's the Switch.
I just imagine imagining all of the different games companies right now seeing Blame Canada in unison because Walmart Canada gave us so much.
Yeah.
So how did the leak come out?
It was like an upcoming like pre-orders and products leak.
Yeah, they put up a page of unreleased items. I'll put it in the Discord.
Why did you say that?
You can see it there. And there's got to be like 30, 40 different games being announced there.
Oh wow. Oh,
Yeah, Tay, did you see this?
No.
They're only like 5 or
Wait.
6 of them had complete cover art, but all the names are there.
Wait, let's read them off, cause oh, it's so small. I can't even.
You know, I just have a list in front of me as well.
Yeah, just read off the list.
Someone's gonna see.
So at the top of the list we have Assassin's Creed. Let's be shocked that Ubisoft has another one of those coming out.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Splinter Cell, which after the last Metal Gear, I'm a little worried for Splinter Cell, just for stealth's sake.
Okay.
Just Cause 4. I like Just Cause 3. I don't think it's as good as Just Cause 2, but it clearly did well enough.
Well, and from what I hear, the series is solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best grappling hook game there is there, but if grappling hook is not enough to sell you on it, then you need more than Just Cause.
Yeah.
Okay.
After that, we have codename Destiny Comet, which is apparently an old codename used for Destiny DLC, which means they probably have a large expansion coming out.
Woohoo.
Jeez, that's big.
Yeah, I'm destined to ignore that. Meanwhile, Borderlands 3 has been further confirmed.
Great.
It's not as subtle as the original Borderlands 2 drop, where Randy Pitchford was talking about different Gearbox products and how the save files tie into each other, and he accidentally, air quotes, with the fact that you should keep your Borderlands 1 save before Borderlands 2 was announced.
Huh.
Okay, moving on from Borderlands 3, we have Lego DC Villains, another Lego game.
Oh boy, I'm so excited.
Actually, to be fair, the Lego games are usually heralded as really, really good.
I know, I was just being a dick.
The thing is, there's no difference between them. I mean, you played one Lego game, you basically played them all. And this is somebody who actually enjoys them. So.
Oh, that's fair.
If it's anything like the Batman Lego movie, then I'm probably in. Skip it over as a Lego game.
Fair enough.
The Lego Batman movie also had no right to be as good as it is, I'm just saying. It's probably my favorite Batman movie since The Dark Knight.
Oh,
Wow. Fuck.
Wrecked.
My favorite Batman movie is still Batman Robin, though.
You know, I should actually include more of the DC animated stuff because they're really killing it there.
Yeah, I hear pretty exclusively good things.
Yeah, DC Cinematic Universe needs a drastic overhaul, but when it comes to their animation, their cartoon, they should put that in theaters because it's actually decent.
Oh, like off topic, like kind of on topic, but I saw the trailer for the Teen Titans Go movie, and
Wait, they're making a movie?
Yeah.
Okay, well, cause let me just say something. I fucking loved the original Teen Titans, as many of us did.
Yes.
Go, I've watched it. Just like I haven't gone out of my way to watch it, but I've come across it a few times. It's like almost okay to me. Like it's on the line of like too cringy, but
I
like,
think it's funny, and I'm usually pretty bled
I
about
think
that
it's
kind
like
of stuff.
it's a little bit too cringy for me, but I don't think it's bad. But like, you can't beat the original. It was the original was actually good.
I don't think you can compare the original. I don't think they're meant to be compared, and everyone's always
I
like,
think they made fun of themselves, saying
Oh, yeah.
like, "Hey,
DC actually did that in Teen Titans Go before they did it in Doomsday Clock, where they had a villain talking about how they were the ones responsible for soft rebooting the universe and thus creating Go from the original.
Really?
there you
It
go.
was Control Freak, I think it was.
Okay.
Control Freak, who was deliberately trying to reboot the Titans so that the audience didn't like them anymore, so he could defeat them in real life in addition to the show.
Holy shit.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
So yeah, they're not entirely out of their minds, but
Right.
they give Nick Cage the ability to be Superman.
Like, okay. The new Powerpuff Girls was stupid.
Oh,
It was very
God.
stupid. It was very bad and very
Horrible.
stupid.
the new one?"
It was fucking horrible. Don't even like.
Yeah, don't worry
Don't
about
even
it.
bother with it.
I know it exists, I never watched it. How bad are we talking?
They use memes.
Like, they literally had Bubbles go, no me gusta. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that bad.
Yeah.
And like she made the face and everything, and you know, a generation of cartoon lovers mourned.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's like a predecessor to the Emoji Movie.
It's like they knew.
What, you mean you don't enjoy Patrick Stewart's highest acting credit as Poop?
That is pretty humorous to me, but that's a separate thing.
Okay, so back to the
That was a...
Chris just died on the last, like, he killed the boss and then he died.
Wait, what?
I fucked up, and Isaac, go on.
Okay, so bouncing back to the list, we actually have the first leak that's been confirmed since this, Rage 2.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played it, to be honest.
The first Rage was not terrible. I did not like the design, though. There was too much brown and orange.
Too much brown! What?
I mean, it was very symptomatic of that, like, Modern Warfare era.
Hey, what the hell did you
of
just
design
do?
Wherein we just had, like,
unplugged it?
two vaguely different monotones and called that a style.
I'm
I mean, I
very
like
happy
some-
we're not in that anymore.
I liked some of the weapon designs, and I did like... I think it had more personality to it than people give it credit for, but the fact is that it was not visually interesting. The ending was bland, and there was no hype for another one. They had this multiplayer component in there that just felt totally tacked on, and you could not invest yourself that heavily in the story. So for all the things it did right, it did another thing wrong.
I mean,
And
I love it, and I love Mad Max, so I'll probably enjoy it enough to give it a shot.
yeah, I mean, there was talk of the sequel coming out like 6 years ago, but they put it off to work on Doom. So we've already gotten the best result possible out of them delaying the sequel.
Yeah. That's true.
But Rage 2, it looks like they're going way heavier on the neon pastel style of, I guess, of Borderlands.
Okay.
Like, they're going heavier into, like, Mad Max 3, Borderlands, I guess just the absurdist elements of the post-apocalypse.
Right.
The first Rage actually felt reasonably grounded. There were some silly parts to it, but nothing that felt impossible.
Right, it was still like... Well, grounded is the good word for it, actually.
It
I'm
felt
not for
like
more
it-
Mad Max as games.
Yeah, I mean, if it's better than the actual Mad Max game that came out recently. Well, recently.
You know what's funny about canceling pre-orders? Before I started playing everything exclusively on PC, I did have that pre-ordered for PS4 and I canceled it. I'm a hypocrite.
You bastard. You're the reason why it feels like this.
But like I said, I just think like at this point pre-ordering is just pointless.
Alright, what's next on the list?
Yeah, go on.
Next on the list, we have Dragon Quest II.
Oh.
I've played Dragon Quest.
Wait, you mean Dragon Quest Builders 2?
It just says Dragon Quest II, but there's nothing to specify.
I hate to tell you, buddy, they're a couple decades late on that one.
Well, unless it would be a
What are they up to, like,
re-release,
now,
but it's not.
10, 12, something like that?
I think it's like Dragon Quest, like in the 12 or 14 area.
Yeah, it only says Dragon Quest II, though, so maybe they omitted Builders from this. but
Maybe.
That's all it says on this.
Maybe it's this soft reboot?
By the way, I'm excited as fuck to play Builders. I never ended up starting it, but
Hang on, help me understand here. They would soft reboot to a 2.
Yeah.
No.
It
It's
Oh,
not
well.
Army of 2, Eric.
So sure of yourself.
To be honest, I don't know, like, that game series.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know if they actually made a...
I'm just fucking with
Dragon
you.
Quest 1.
It's okay.